Good morning. It's 9 August and it's probably about 8 o'clock in the morning right now. Doing this video for pretty much anybody, but I got asked some questions about the installation of the head on my North Sea 27. One of the things that came up was how hard it was to install, and I'd say installing this vent was probably the hardest part. Mainly because this was just the regular hull, so having to drill a hole through the deck for the vent, and then getting all the holes just right on the corners just to secure it in place. This is 5" by 5" block that's 2 inches thick that I cut away around the bottom. So that way it would have a nice clean flat surface for this mushroom vent. So I just cut away just to get that little curve in there. The reason it kind of see it down below, but it's placed here so it's away from this little mount that is supposed to be for a Dodger. Haven't used it yet, but you'll see below why it is where it is. Well, this is why it is where it is, but see down below also. So down here in the head, got the fan housing with the 2 wires coming out of it. This is the right angle housing. It's 5 inches wide, and then the opening inside where the fan is, it's about 2 1/4, 2.5 inches. That's where basically it's basically a computer fan that's just mounted in here, so it'll blow air up and out. I wanted to get the right angle just because of where it's at, so that way this, which the hose is not mounted right now, but wanted it so that it would be out of the way, go along the ceiling before it comes down to the attachment point, which is right here. It's kind of hard to see, but it's right there. The other housing that's possible is a straight housing where the hose would come straight out of here. Back up a little bit. Considering, try it that way. Considering the space right there, I'm 6'5", so if I'm sitting on there, my head still reaches up pretty far toward the ceiling, and having my head hitting a hose right here make things a little more uncomfortable. So if I didn't have that spot on the deck with that little Dodger frame, I probably could have easily just put it closer to the bulkhead here and have it going straight down. I've seen another installation on a boat. I think it was a Westsail 32, I think, where the headspace had enough space where the hose went under the cabinet here and then straight up to the ceiling up here. Basically kind of like how that hole back there went to the waist deck plate for like pump outs and all, but instead it went up here. So Westsail 32, the picture that I saw, it was wide enough that it could do that, and it would just use a straight housing. I said it was 5 inches around, but to give an idea of the size, how deep it is, it's about 3 inches deep. So there it is. It's about 3 inches deep, and I'll give an idea of how much space is on this housing for installing. Now the thing is with the space here in the head, how that's going to go. Right now, got excuse me. Look at this bucket, which is just random stuff. So I have this little grate right here that has, it's basically built-in shower can. So there's a little drain in the corner, raised platform. On the head, for depth right there, for the old head that I took out, there's just a hole right here in this whole space, and the holding tank went down a few more inches. If somebody's seen the older pictures that I have on my blog with when I took the old one out, one thing I didn't realize is that it did go down further. I thought it was probably about 4 or 5 inches high, and to me it didn't really make much sense until I took it out and saw that it kept going down. When I got the boat, I had originally thought of getting a composting head. I originally thought of getting a nature's head, but I went to the Annapolis sailboat show last year in October. Got to see the nature's head and the Airhead together. Well, not right together, but I got to see them in person. And when I saw them, I kind of looked at how they were designed and decided Airhead would be a little bit better fit. Partially because here on, if emptying the solids tank right here, this is just a quick little turn. That's it. And then it lifts straight up. For the nature's head, you needed about another 2 or 2.5 inches of space behind the head in order to lift it up, in order to empty it. So considering there's not a whole lot of space left over in here, I wanted as much space, to be able to sit in or move around as much as possible. So even a couple inches is a lot of space to take up. Let's see, another thing that I was looking at is just how it's mounted. Got 2 mounting points, one for the solids head, and this one to keep the liquid container in place. So this is just basically spring loaded with some kind of gasket, like rubber, neoprene, something right there to keep any of the liquids from splashing out if it gets that full. Nice little carry handle. And some of the old pictures of the Airhead, I saw that you have like a little tube or something sticking out of the side, which this one obviously doesn't have that tube, but the closest it has is this little viewport right there. It's not really clear, but it's kind of semi-translucent, I guess. So it's not too bad. I thought this was a better fit in this head. And then this bag right here. This is from one brick of this right here. Let's see. So this Cocotec teak something. So coconut coir, or core, however you say that. But basically, it's not too big like this, and you pretty much add some water, get it started. Since I didn't plan on hauling out the boat already, I had already started getting one of these bricks ready. So here, size comparison right there. So it expanded probably about 3 times as much as this dry one. So maybe a little more than 3 times, but so it's quite a bit in there. I haven't tried putting any in the head yet, but I would expect maybe half of this would probably go in the head to get it started, and then what I've read online is once it's started, and you're using the head, if there's any odor, just add a little bit more of this in order to reduce the smell, and otherwise it's just going to apparently smell like just regular dirt, like a garden. Just keep that out of the way right now. One thing during installation that I've seen is the handle. The crank handle is going to go right here, which I have right there. So I'm going to pull that pin out. Just going to dry mount it right here. So one thing is, got that right there. I mean, it's not very big. It's maybe 2.5, 3 inches that it sticks out. So one idea that I've had was possibly maybe to cut half of this handle off, but at the same time, not so sure I really want to do that. So that's one thing to consider as far as placement, like on the platform, making sure you have clearance for the handle. So one of the ideas I have for the Airhead, there is an attachment for sale. I looked it up online last night. It's like $36, where you can attach something right here on the side and then use I think it's a socket wrench, and to be able to turn that. But I do have some room. I could probably move it over a little bit if I wanted to redo it. And but here, I'm sure anyone who's seen advertisements will see how this is put together. So you got liquids. Also, if this little door, trap door, which the handle's right here, so if it's closed, like let's say for ladies, you know, liquids can just roll right down in there and still go into that forward container. But then got solids right there, and then the crank handle, and then let me turn that. So here you can see it'll just turn it up if the handle's moving. And then when it's all done, close it. And then there's rubber gasket right there, and on the bottom of the seat. That way keep any flies from trying to fly into that. Another thing with it is over here, it's not installed right now, mainly because this big gray hose you can put on either side, whichever works for the installation. So whichever the hose and the fan that goes up here, the other side would have a little vent. You see, or not vent, but a little screen. Kind of hard to see, but it's basically a little screen that gets plugged in there, again to help keep little bugs from flying in there. So it's, let's see, focus. There it is. So kind of like a screen on a screen door. So pretty small. But you know, some of this also comes with it. This mounts to the other side where that gray hose will get attached. So this little gray piece right here, use like contact cement, something like that, to put on here. And then that much will be sticking out of the container. Actually, where's the... So let's see. So that is about 1 3/4 inch, 1.5 inches, 3/4 that would stick out from that hole on the side. So once that's through there, then it's just a matter of however much of this hose would be sticking out too. So that's the space consideration right there for anyone installing. And let's see, I mean, it could probably get a good bend in the hose, although it's kind of a strain, but also remember, got that little tiny turn to open it up. So I might have to move where it's installed just to get a better fit of things, but I might give it a try as is for now. Yeah, and in order to try testing opening the container or the solid, I'd have to put the camera down, but just to show how it is. But I don't think it's too bad. I kind of like it. It'll work. Got all the hoses from the old head that was under here out. The hose that's in there now is for bilge pump. So far so good. Like I said, haven't tried using it yet. So what I need to do for the white base that I got, just need to actually screw that down because this is actually still loose. And then hook up the gray hose and the little screen, and then hook up the wires to the vent, and it's functional. So it's really not that hard to do. I mean, the main things out of the box that is needed is just mounting the fan housing, the hose to that, between that and the solid container, and then attaching it to a base, and then attaching the little screen to that little port back there. One thing that this came with was this little piece right here. This, if I remember right, I'd have to look in the booklet again up there, but basically it has an inline screen. So even though there's a one screen on one side, the hose just goes attached directly to the solid container, or this upper part. But somewhere in the middle along the route, you can have the inline screen that I guess to help keep other bugs. I guess if the mushroom vent I have on the deck has a screen of itself, although the holes are a little bit bigger than what this one is, but it's still meant to keep bugs out. So this is another method to prevent any bugs from making their way to the head and setting up a home. So hopefully this gives a good idea of installing in small spaces. But of course, another thing to do is move some of this stuff out of the way. Okay. So, like I was saying, I'm 6'5". So hopefully this gives an idea of height. You know, if someone's actually using it. I mean, my little North Sea doesn't have a whole lot of space. I mean, I could close this door. Okay, there. So I can close the door, still have enough space to do what I need to. But yeah, legs are definitely elevated, or I'm elevated, so it's not like a household where, you know, the angle of how high my feet are would be different. So a little bit of height right there. I mean, I guess this is good. One good way to see that it's good that I'm as tall as I am. But even then, just something I'm thinking of now. I'm just sitting here and really don't have to worry too much about my feet or legs hitting this liquid tank. So thankfully I have this little lip right here I could hold on to if I need to lift up or readjust. So that's my installation of an Airhead toilet.